Hi YouTube, it's your favourite mega church cult survivor, Leah Lauder, and I'm not going to be in the camera completely today, guys, because I'm feeling very unwell. I'm on live on TikTok, so you're just going to see like a bit of my unicorn teddy, a little bit of my arm, and then you've got the lovely books, Dag's lovely books that are there. Guys, you can't see them on TikTok, you've got Dag's picture. As you all know, I left Daggy with Mill's cult. I was in there for 18 years, and now I come online and I expose all the various tactics that they use in this cult. I want to say firstly that this is to bring awareness. Here you can see us, but this one's a bit mash up because I was kind of poking and ripping up loyalty and disloyalty. Yeah. Guys, I'm so tired. As you know, I live with chronic health issues as a result of being in this cult. I have chronic kidney disease and I have Addison's. As you know, a couple of days ago, Dag was on live doing the most. Hey, Miss CHM. And he was just abusing me from the pulpit indirectly without saying names. And so what I did was a little bit of content on it. I'm yet to start the series. But a survivor reached out to me and was just like, oh, Leah, my heart breaks here. I know how it feels. My pastor's always talking about me and abusing me from the pulpit. And then I was like, oh my God, like I forget when these things happen, like there's survivors going through it themselves. So I've been making quite a few notes on why these EVIL mogs and fake pastors do this. And I'm just going to jump right in with when fake pastors, EVIL mogs, speak about you from the pulpit when you leave. One of the most destabilising things that happens after you leave a church cult isn't just the leaving, it's what happens after. And if you guys start commenting and you can't see the comments, I can change. I'll just put my arm there so you can kind of see that you can comment, yeah? When you hear that the leader is still talking about you, still warning people about you, still implying curses, rebellions, demons, and danger, even years later. And guys, please like up the live. Thank you. It's also obsession. People underestimate how traumatic that is. Because psychologically, that leader once held authority over you, your meaning, your safety, your covering, identity, and your relationship with God, community, and self. So when when they speak about you from the pulpit, it doesn't land like gossip, it lands like judgment from a former God figure or father figure, even. And a lot of us will have, like, Stockholm syndrome, things like that. Sorry, guys, if I'm speaking slow. I'm incredibly ill at the moment. I'm bedbound as well. And my cult leader was on a live trying to take the glory for my disability. What this does to us psychologically, this tactic reactivates trauma bonds. Even after you leave, part of the brain still treats the leader as an authority, a moral referee, a spiritual gatekeeper. So when they curse, demonize, or allude to you, it can trigger hypervigilance, shame spirals, fear of punishment or collapse, identity confusion, and a return of what if they're right. This is why survivors can feel shaken even when they know the systems was and are abusive. That's not weakness, that's conditioning. Where am I? Some of us are also battling Stockholm style attachment. 1 second, guys, I've got to make sure that I've got some water. Do you know, even to grab the water is hurting my legs and my back? This is crazy. And guys, this is the real life stuff that happens after you leave a church cult and you're left with the aftermath of it. And the aftermath is exactly what it sounds like, aftermath. Because when you were in there, you were still sick and battling and whatever, but you weren't living in reality. You were living in a distorted reality, so you didn't notice it as much. And then when you leave chair, that's when it all comes down on you like a. All right, let me get comfortable. Um, where is it? Okay, reactivates trauma. The same false voice that controlled you once told you that you were chosen, special, protected. Hey, Ines. So when that voice turns against you, it can feel like existential rejection, not just criticism. Thank you, my love. Thank you, Ines. I appreciate you, babe. Daddy's just peeing me off, man. Seriously, like, he's just doing way too much in a life. Hey, my love. Welcome, Queen. So there's the Stockholm syndrome, you know what I mean? Some of us still have attachments to our pastors, and that can also, bring like, like trigger the trauma, and we're like reliving it. So what the leader is actually doing, this is the tactic. This is not spiritual, it's damage control. By speaking about me indirectly or yourself or members who leave, they are maintaining fear in the group. Thank you, Ines. Rewriting the reason you left, preemptively discrediting your truth, and reinforces us versus them thinking, protecting their authority from scrutiny. They are not responding to you, they are responding to the threat your leaving represents. And also, if you're speaking out, that's an extra layer. Because someone who leaves and survives and thrives exposes the lie that no life exists outside the system, because that's what they indoctrinate us with. But the truth is, the system is what holds you down. You're like a crabs in a bucket. There's a glass, there's a glass ceiling. Where's my water? There's a glass ceiling that they can't. Once you've got to a certain point in these cults, you can't get past it. Oh, thanks, Freeman, because there's a lot of nepotism at the top. So it's like their family members all this spiritual bloodline and dynasty that they create. Oh, thanks, Freeman. The ones in there, they're just going to be in there until their eyes are opened. But the ones in the world, definitely, I see as my responsibility to create awareness, and not for clout or views, but because I believe it's what I'm meant to do. How this makes us feel. And guys, I got a CIC I've set up called Hope CIC, yeah? And I've done this work for 2 years with no funding, off my own back, this, that, and the third. I'm going to be applying for funding this year, but I'm also going to be doing up crowdfunding, and it will be revealed what that crowdfunding's for. There will be an example to show you guys. And then I'm going to ask for crowdfunding help for us to continue doing this work. Would you ever work with mainstream media? I don't know, man. It depends. It depends if the values and whatnot aligned, because we are more of an independent collective. We don't really believe in institution. It's Panorama with the BBC, because I feel like the BBC is a bit corrupt as well. But I'll never say no. I'll just say it's something that I'd have to explore. Do you know what I mean? So we're still deconstructing from the place they once held, not because we believe them, but because our nervous system was trained under them. Healing isn't just intellectual, it's relational and somatic. I'd explore it, but not saying 100%. Yeah. Changing the narrative. This is the reframe. If they have to keep talking about you, you're already free. Healthy leaders don't curse leavers. Secure systems don't hunt defectors. Truth doesn't need character assassination. Every time they invoke your name, directly or indirectly, it confirms they've lost control. They cannot integrate dissent. They fear what your existence represents. You're not being punished. You're being contained in their story because they can't face the reality. Remember, this causes narcissistic injury. This is like bursting their bubble. Thanks for liking the live, guys. It's really important you do it because they're active right now. For survivors hearing this, If you feel shaken when you hear they're still talking about you, that doesn't mean you're failing at healing. It means your body remembers captivity, it remembers the trauma, your mind is untangling authority from truth. Your identity is reclaiming authorship, and that takes time. You're not cursed, you're not rebellious, you're not dangerous. So that's my introduction. Let's get into it. Because these cult leaders are getting on my nerve, especially Dag. Like, I don't know who Dag thinks he is, yeah. But oh, there's so much, man. Because I was on here yesterday, wasn't I? All right, so the main scripture that I'm using for this, because Dag goes on and on about curses, is Galatians 3:13. Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us. That's why these type of fake pastors stay in the Old Testament, sticking to the Mosaic law. But there was something during the Flow Prayer broadcast that really concerned me. And Dag introduces what he himself calls a case, while ostensibly praying about curses. This is not abstract teaching, it is narrative instruction designed to shape how members interpret women, divorce, and mental illness. He's been talking a lot about women and divorce and mental illness because he's indirectly talking about me. But he should be talking about his son who unalived himself, because that is mental health, mental illness. And we need to talk about everything that's going on, not just something in isolation. So let's look at how Dag does up demonization of women and mental illness. This is direct quotes and analysis. He states verbatim, "My friend was ready to divorce his wife. In the midst of her bad behavior, she attacked him. It occurred to him she's not well. She went completely raving mad. I mean, stars, galaxies, she was off." Hey Lula, this is exactly what he said. This language is not pastoral, it is dehumanizing. Phrases like raven mad, stars, galaxy, and she was off reduce mental distress to spectacle and ridicule. This strips the person of dignity and frames illness as dangerous, irrational, and morally suspect. He then generalizes this to women and marriages. He quotes, "A lot of marriages have this abnormal behavior, you see, like schizophrenia, withdrawal elements, doesn't talk, no relationship, doesn't move, has no motivation to cook or eat, doesn't want to have schmegs. This is a gross misinterpretation of mental health. Clinically, schizophrenia is a severe psychotic disorder, not marital drama." Dag's also got a book, Those Who Are MAD. And what he does is he kind of labels disloyal people who leave him, who speak out against his cult, as being schizophrenic. And he's a medical doctor. He did his medical degree in 1987, and I think he practiced for about a year. And Dag thinks he's still a medical doctor to this day, 2026. That's how delusional this man is. That's how unwell he is. And everybody around him, yes, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes, daddy, yes, prophet, chale, yes, sir, yes, please, no, please, yes, sir, yes, please. So it's all of that. So that's why we're at where we're at. We have this tyrant completely. And do you know what's crazy? He's actually raving MAD. So it's all projection. Withdrawal, low motivation, and loss of libido are common in depression, trauma, chronic illness, and burnout. So as you saw, they were doing up their erectile dysfunction preaching the other day. So a lot of the men in there become very feminine, are not attracted to their wives because they're unfortunate looking. There's arranged wives in there. The wives are basic, nothing to write home about, like Dag's wife, Auntie Mummy, and most of the other wives, because they demonize beautiful women in there. So it's very seldom does a beautiful woman, marry someone really high ranking or, get up the ranks. And you can see that because all the wives are washed up. Like Eden, for example, that has married Pastor Emmanuel at Baden. And there's a lot of nepotism. So Lady Reverend Adelaide, Auntie Mummy, who's married to Dag, that's the Badens. So wherever you see Kakra Baden, Jude Baden, Emmanuel Baden, his wife Eden was his member. And you know how they are in there, the pastors are Preds chair. So he just pounced all up on that. And now she looks like a Mormon. She was really fashionable at first. She just looks washed up. So that's what happens to them, because they change the women. And again, she's nothing to write home about. Babes, don't let me have to put up my picture. Hi, Latoya. Don't let me, whoever's talking human fecal matter about bitterness. Bitterness about what, babe? Do you want me to put my picture side by side, Auntie Mummy? I don't even need to put my picture. Do you want me to put my mum's picture up? Side by side, Auntie Mummy. Yeah? You want to talk about washed up gal from the cold? I'll start exposing people, chair. I'll start putting people up in her. Daniel Cyrus, his wife, Bishop Daniel, Apostle Daniel, whatever you lot call that pred, he was sleeping with his TSA, his talented solo artist hair over hair in First Love Aston. That's why his backside got transferred to Ghana. Just like Joshua. Joshua was sleeping with a girl. And I've got videos of them when they were singing in Milky Way Star. So this is all to come. Everybody's getting exposed on their mama's mama. Because Joshua was taking his little gal that he was sleeping with to properties that his dad owns here in the UK. Carlo, I can't do the thing, but I love you. Yeah? So if you want to talk about bitterness, Priscilla must be bitter because Joshua, and do you know what a survivor said? The survivor said, Joshua looks like a raccoon that's drenched. I'll tell you something. Priscilla must not be happy because that's not Joshua's type. Because Joshua's a gallus. Joshua used to have a crush on me. But David was the anointed one. David could sing. David could preach. David could do everything. David was the handsome one. David was the chosen one. David was the older one. But unfortunately, he didn't F with his dad. He had absolutely no interest in the ministry. Isn't there a scripture that says that a bishop needs to be of good reputation, be a husband of one wife? Doesn't he need to be able to keep order over his children? Because Dag is failing to do that. His eldest daughter's a sea head. And then you've got Josh, who just isn't anointed. It's just so obvious that he's acting, that he's just there for the clout. Do you know what I mean? And unfortunately, now that the empire's crumbling, Dag's just left it to Joshua for it to crash and burn. And then we've got it is Paula. Paula's the young one, isn't it? She's married to Ryan Hyde. She's in Leeds at the moment, but I suspect they're probably going to move those two to First Love London, because Kent's been sleeping with the whole of the world. Because when Kent travels internationally, apparently he's just been sleeping with women. So, and I'm going to take this really deep. I'm going to be discussing Yavela and Kent's children as well. Yeah. So Kent's just been sleeping around with everybody. So he clearly doesn't have erectile dysfunction. So it's just the MESS. It's a whole MESS. And then you've got Senna, who's married to Dag's niece, and he's been transferred to First Love Apache. So where the people are not physically related to Dag, they're related to Dag through like this spiritual nepotism. Because like Reverend Stephen Ajapong, and I sung for him for 2 years. I was his talented solo artiste in Apache for 2 years. So I know all of them. And he's a pred though, you know, Senna's dad. Oh God, guys, it's just at MESS. I don't even know what I was talking about, but the main thing is Dag's kids are at MESS, because you've got Joshua just being fake, just there for the money, no anointing. Then you've got Daniela, the older one, who everyone in Ghana, there's them from Ghana that were telling me that she's loose. She gets about, innit? And David was a beautiful soul. David was the best one. David was the best child, but because Dag already had expectations for his kids before they were even born, and he's a tyrant. So it's very, very, you can't speak to Dag. Dag just speaks at you, and you've got to do what he says. So what David did was this is all allegedly, David did the medicine, like just to keep his dad happy, because David had a good heart. He did. So he was a psychiatrist, a medical doctor by profession like his dad, but he had no interest to do the ministry. I think he just did that to just, shut Dag up. And also he's got this huge ministry. But so he just like forced him into his footsteps. But back in the day, David he did his medical degree in Zurich or somewhere there. That's why I think Dag was trying to grow the church cults out there, because David was doing his degree, but David hated it over there. So he was always in the UK. David liked London girls. David loved the London gal, But I'm going to give you the tea. Back in the 2000s, David was seeing a girl from my branch called North K. And I'm not going to lie, this girl was a 10 out of 10. She's a Ghanaian ting, but she was just pretty, man. Just pretty ting. So and she had one foot in the church cult and one foot out. So she was schmegsy. Do you know what I mean? Like she weren't washed up like the rest of them. You know, she had like her attitude and you know what I'm saying? But she was Ghanaian. So once you're Ghanaian, it's like the cult is Ghanaian, isn't it? So even if you're a bit wayward or whatever, you're still gonna like respect the thing. You get it? So anyway, long story short, there was another guy who used to be called Kobe. And if you're an OG member, you look who's on here knows what I talk about. Who remembers Kobe? Kobe used to play, he used to play the bass, innit? No, the drums, babe. He used to play the drums. It used to be Carl. Carl's just messy. Carl's like a gal. He just chats everyone's business. He used to play the bass. Then you had what's his name? Andrew on the keys, and then you had Kobe on the drums and Apache. So as I said to you, David loved the UK. So although he was in Zurich, he used to spend all his weekends, whenever he could, he'd be coming here. So him, the gal that he fancied from my branch, and then Kobe was going out with a girl. If I said to you the girl was, yeah, because her brother's famous in the UD, like her brother was a reverend minister. Anyway, so she was dating Kobe, and it was a nice little foursome because the two girls were like BFFs, and then Kobe and David were best friends as well. And even though I was young, because David's only a couple of years younger than me, but remember, I was going out with like gang leaders, like guys like 8 years older than me. So I wasn't hanging around with the kids. They were like little boys to me. You get me? Because David was fine as hell. Let me tell you that. Woo! Even I used to look at David and think, ooh, but I saw him as a boy. You know what I mean? Because I was going out with big man. So anyway, long story short, David and Kobe and these two girls basically had booked their tickets, you know. They booked their tickets to go to Zurich or wherever his uni was, and he was gonna take them. They were all gonna stay there, like stay over for the 4 nights. So I'm there, yeah, they're all talking about it. But obviously David thought I was cool in it. And this is why to this day I feel so bad. Because me and David, I loved David, man. And we always used to think like the OGs back in the day, like everyone would be like, David's all right, like he's cool. David just wanted to be normal. He just wanted to be a normal boy and live a normal life. And Dag would not let him do it, man. It was so much pressure for that boy. He couldn't breathe. So anyway, I was there, and obviously I went and snitched on him to my spiritual father, Reverend Edmund. And then I had to tell Bishop Richard. And Bishop Richard was so angry. It got back to Dag, and David was forbidden from coming to London. So if you're on here and you're wondering why David never came back to the UK after the 2000s, it's because I snitched on him. And I feel so bad. I haven't even processed it because, as you lot all know, allegedly David unalived himself. And it would make sense because David was the black sheep of the family. The only time we saw David come back to this cult was when Joshua Heward Mills got married. And David only did that because David had a good heart. When I tell you David was a lie, that's what makes me believe like the allegations that he did unalive himself, because David was such a pure soul that I believe that during the pandemic he came to the realize. I mean, look at this man. Look at this man. He's EVIL. Thanks for the follow. Look at him. Imagine this being your father. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm telling you now, I will bring justice to him beyond the grave. Because they've tried to do a cover up. They're trying to say that he unalived from kidney failure. But what I'm going to start doing is, David had a girlfriend at the time. And I'm going to start doing content for the girlfriend. I'm going to start doing a plea to the girlfriend because David was my friend and I want to expose it. And I know that if David did unalive himself because it was around, Holy Week, around Good Friday, and Dag does this ritualistic Good Friday service in Times Square. Is it Times Square in Ghana? Independent Times Square. Thousands of people gather. So my thinking is he did it that time especially. And I think it was a message that he was sending out. When I found out that David unalived himself, I cried. I was crying for like a whole week. And that's when I was like, I need to get in therapy. And I got myself in therapy and I just thought he just unalived alone. He was a psychiatrist in America. So he would have had access to a lot of meds. Oh, God. All right. So why is this abuse? Gendered scapegoating, sociologically, patriarchal religious systems often frame women as sources of chaos, drama, spiritual contamination. This keeps male authority intact and reframes systemic or relational failure as female pathology. So, moralization of illness by embedding this story inside curse theology, because he uses Deuteronomy 28. Mental illness is no longer medical, it becomes evidence of a curse, moral failure, and of demonic influence. And this is the danger in them taking Mosaic, archaic, outdated, Stone Age, barbaric laws and using them in 2026 when we're a heightened collective consciousness and we understand more about mental health, trauma theory. Come on, man. Come on. This is just backwards thinking. This is like, if you think like this, you think like the Stone Ages, and that's why we laugh at our uncles and aunties. But when will we like realize that this is serious? Thanks for the follow. Indirect targeting through narrative. He does not name me specifically, but he names the divorce, drama, immobility, mental instability, and chronic symptoms. Dag was trying to take the glory for me being bedridden right now, for an autoimmune disease that happened because of the ABUSE of being in a church cult under this EVIL tyrant for 18 years, right? What I'm going to say to you is this is not about him having the power to curse. It's so much more complex as this. And Dag uses his medical degree that he got in 1987. Medicine has advanced so much, babe. I think I would know more about medicine from just going on ChatGPT. Do you know what I mean? In coercive control theory, this is called plausible deniability. Targeting the message is general, but the person living that reality recognizes themselves immediately. Weaponizing scripture against mental health, he explicitly invokes, the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness, Deuteronomy 28:28. He then declares, I plead mercy from God to never see mental illness or madness, all forms of personality disorder, mental impairment. These are not part of my family. These are not part of my life. So Dag disassociates himself from it, but he also uses it as a prize to say, look, the people speaking out have mental illness. That's a sign of curses. I don't have that. So it's framing mental illness as a curse, containment, something to be spiritually expelled. When they frame mental illness as demons, that's their bread and butter. That's their cash cow, because then they have heat. They can heal mental health illness, diseases, LGBTQ, and it's all a lie. It's all a lie. And that's why they HAT science, academics, intellectual people who come and speak sense, because it shines a light on the lies and the deception. Guys, I'm going to say in 2026, don't listen to what they say. Look at how they act, because this man is pure EVIL. There's no way you're going to look at this picture and think this guy is a mog. From a mental health science perspective, this is profoundly harmful. Mental health exists on a spectrum influenced by genetics, trauma, neurobiology, and social stresses. Obviously, back in the day, because it was just, they just had stones in it. They just had stones. They couldn't, could they even write properly? Like, how did all of these books get translated? Heavy on look at how they act. Yes, because the body keeps the score. The EVIL looks, the clenched fists, the raised eyebrows, the frowns, the way the eyes are looking, the intensity of this, the body keeps the score and the body doesn't lie. That's why they get suspects, like the parents, when they think they've unalived their children, to do news press conferences, because they read their body language and they become a suspect. Similarly, that's what I'm doing. I'm using a plethora of skills, including psychoanalysis, to be able to read these cult leaders like a book, because I'm not going to listen to what you say, because you lot just dress and cloak everything in scripture to lie. So I'm just going to look at your body language and study the words that you speak. Then we'll get the truth. By force. Reducing it to demons or curses prevents treatment, increases shame, isolates sufferers, protects leaders from scrutiny. And it also makes him spiral into madness, because he needs to look at himself and get help. But he thinks it's a curse, it's demonic, it's this, it's that. So he can't even see himself. It's like, how can you be how can you be a so-called prophet and be telling everyone else what to do, but you can't see that you're a narcissist? Guys, seriously, like if you're in there, I would say start to plan your exit, because it's going to get worse and worse. Why this reflects projection, not authority. He cannot tolerate the idea of mental health because it threatens his self-image. And also, allegedly that's the way that David unalived himself. So to Dag, it's demonic, it's this, that, because it takes away the accountability. It's easier for him to say mental health is a demon that took David than him being a human fecal matter of a dad, being a tyrant, being a narcissist, being absolutely impossible to speak to, show emotions to. We don't care about how powerful you think you are. How were you as a dad? Because when this guy unalived, this man had no pictures to show with his son. The only pictures he was putting up was like throwbacks. There was no pictures of him and David, no recent ones. Even on the wedding, there's no pictures of him and David. David did not speak to his father at the time he unalived. David was not been with his dad. And you claim to be a prophet that hears from God. It says, what does it say in the Bible? Before you go and pray for someone, you go and do whatever, you need to go and leave. You need to go and apologize, innit, before you come to the altar. Does anyone know what scripture that is? And that's why you see guys like Dag, when they're EVIL like this and they're dictators and tyrants, yeah. That's why they say, oh, you shouldn't be speaking back to your parents like this, and that, because in his mind, he's told David to become a pastor and follow on in the ministry. And because David didn't want to do that, he punished David for that, for making him look weak, for making him look not, because these cult leaders, they like a squeaky clean image. So it was a narcissistic injury, but David did that purposefully, I believe. He didn't want to be a part of it because he was a sweet, kind soul. He weren't like the rest of the family. David was different. David got on with the commoners because Daggers tried to create like this royalty thing, and they're all stink. All of the kids are rude and feisty. Yavela, that's why God made it so that Yavela would marry a schmegs addict that sleeps around with all different women and doesn't use protection allegedly. That's why, because she's very proud, just like her mother. So the same with Paula, same with that Daniela one. Even though she don't even do nothing in the church cult, the girl will be walking around like she's the queen of the castle. And that's how you know it's corrupt. That's how you know it's corrupt, because she walks around with that air like her dad's or someone. Yeah. And then you've got Joshua's just the MESS. He's just a fraud. And then you've got David, who unalived himself. It's just the MESS. It's like Greenleaf. It's a soap opera. And then Dag wants to stand there and act like he's all high and mighty and holier than thou. Babe, you got so much. There's so much dysfunction. You can't even control your own family. And there's so much talking going on and confusion inside there. A lot of people are like questioning his ability to lead because there's just so much exposure and bad like controversies coming out about him. It's not. It's about Dag and the church cult. So people are questioning that now, and people are just leaving. So why this reflects projection and not authority? Because what we're seeing right now is just like we're seeing a defeated man. All right, we're seeing a defeated man. We're seeing a man that is being brought to his knees. We're seeing a man whose ministry is absolutely crumbling before us. Did I not get any? Look at him. He's so sinister, isn't he? Bloody hell, man. I don't want to press the wrong thing. Oh, no, sorry. That's just Hayley Melinda looking a mess. Yeah, so this is a fallen man. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is a defeated man. This is a weak man. He cannot tolerate the idea of mental health because it threatens his self-image. Psychologically, this fits projection. Distress is disowned, vulnerability is externalized, and madness is located in others. Christ's words are directly relevant here. He who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. Did it go all the way up? Oh, no. Wait a minute. Instead of humility, we see condemnation. Instead of care, we see ridicule. So let's look at the broader context and the outdated ideology as control, because that's exactly what this all is. It's just all outdated. But do you know what? I missed the other picture I had there. This one is absolutely perfect. I love this one. Oh my God! It just shows Dag in all his glory. Their profit precious to us. Your words that they are meant by us, and we are just saying thanks. Just saying thanks. We love you. Hi, Marvey. We love you. We really appreciate you. I love you, Daddy. Monkey they work, baboon they chop. That's why you're all on it. Oh. You just the monkey that work. I'm the baboon that come to chop. Oh. And I just want to say thank you so much to all my brothers and sisters from the other side of town. You know, you've been pushing the posts. Monkey they work, baboon they chop. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. So Dag began his ministry in 1987, all right? Before trauma-informed psychology, before modern mental health, advocacy, disability rights frameworks, neurodiversity awareness, but he can get away with it because the epicenter is in Ghana. So that's where his epicenter is, his main church cult, where he's got his compound. And we all know they don't have the same safeguard in there. It's quite backwards. So in thinking, and that's why they thrive. And actually, I would arguably, you could say that the motherland back home is the epicenter of all this mega church cult human fecal matter. And that's why, like, our generations, it's like they're DUMB. It's like they've got the mind of a 5-year-old. Do you know what I mean? Like, aunties and uncles are running away from a guy doing a skit because he's pretending that, you know, he's got a bag of rice and he's doing up witchcraft. Their lives are governed by fear. Rather than evolve, Dag freezes theology in a pre-scientific frame because it preserves hierarchy, keeps members dependent, and invalidates lived experience. For those of you on YouTube, I'm so ill at the moment, Marve. I'm bedridden. So this is why I'm just in the dark. It's not as great lighting. Making worship into a competition. Yeah, they do a lot of triangulation. And funnily enough, I'm going to do a piece on love first. This is a new church cult that Dag has started. What Dag does is when one of his church cults is getting exposed, he does whatever, he goes and starts a new denomination and he discards the last one. So we're seeing a pattern. First it was LCI, he discarded that. Then he turned it into Mustard Seed, Chapel International, Pleasant Surprises, different names. Then he discarded MSCI, done up First Love, but MSCI and PSCI were still there, but not the main show. Now he's discarded First Love because I've been exposing the hell out of it, and he's created Love First. And this is the second and third generation now, the young ones. So these are the kids of the pastor's kids. So like the third generation. It's absolutely sick. I'm going to be exposing it. So yes, they do up a lot of triangulation, competition, and Dag loves discarding. So he's left the Titanic sinking ship to Joshua. Thanks, Ange. So in his mind, it will all be blamed on Joshua. Joshua's not anointed. Joshua was never anointed. But no, Dag, it was you. All you. The reason Joshua was able to fool you is because Joshua's more EVIL than his dad. But you reap what you sow. Do you know what I'm saying? There was someone that told me, and this is a very credible source, and I hope one day that the victim will speak out. But she said to me, she said, Leah, I can't tell you much, but all I'm going to tell you is that Joshua is pure EVIL. I said, oh, wow. And this girl, she's just messy. She's changed now, but back in the day, she was wicked. That's why they chose her to go up in the ministry and things like that. So for it to come out of her mouth, I know she met her match. That was how God humbled her to open her eyes. It took Joshua. It was through doing a thing with Joshua that saved her. Thank you for all your comments saying speak truth and all that. I appreciate y'all, man. So because he freezes the theology in a pre-scientific frame, it preserves hierarchy, control, keeps members independent, preserves the heavy shepherding, and invalidates lived experiences. It also condones essay and great apologist rhetoric. Because remember, in the Bible, they just treat women like cattle. Women, who was it? Was it Lot that was given up? Was it Lot that was giving up his daughters that were virgins? I mean, come on. Hey, Aileen, you're right, babe. This creates what sociologists call a self-sealing system. Evidence against the system is reframed as proof of curse. So you can't speak to them, they're unreasonable. Yeah, it's madness. Dissent becomes pathology and authenticity becomes madness. All right. So anything different. I'm all right, babe. I'm surviving. I have pins and needles in my feet and can't feel my feet at the moment. But apart from that, what they need to realize is when I go through a health crisis, I can't do nothing. I'm just here sleeping. I wake up, I think about Dag. When my kids are crying because they're seeing their mum deteriorate, I had my 9-year-old in here today bawling her eyes out because her mum's deteriorating. This is the realness. I'm screaming in pain. My daughter's having to help me change my sheet. I'm waiting to get literal carers to come out and help me. Like, this is how serious it is. So if Dag thinks that he's going to be going on here and doing up curses and I'm going to, baby, oh my God, Dag has no idea what I'm cooking up behind the scenes. I don't need legs, bitch. I don't need legs to expose you. I use the internet. Most of the survivors that have left your cult are disabled or chronically ill or have trust issues or have real PTSD and CPTSD real bad. That the mental health services can't figure out whether it's a personality disorder or CPTSD or PTSD. Yes, curvy vibes in the car. Miss CHM, are you all right? We're all on heavy meds, babe, to get up, to go to the toilet, to do everything. And this man thinks he's going to come. Listen. Oh, my. Curvy vibes, are you a survivor of this cult or a different one? Listen, all I'm saying is you lot get ready for March. Because they're going to get a shot upon their batty crease. Yeah, fire upon their batty crease. That's what's going to happen. Yeah. Playing with me like I'm anyone outside in these streets. And this is the final clarification, and it's important. Your illness, mobility issues, and mental health experiences are not caused by a fake mog or something someone can say. Thanks, Solomon. Big yourself up. It's definitely not caused by Dag. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he couldn't even save his own son's life. I'm not being funny, but you're claiming to be some healer that goes to Colombia and raises the unalive. Why didn't you raise David? So how are you going to come here and try and start chat on my name about you made me this, you made me that, but you couldn't save your own child? So these are grounded in neurobiology, autoimmunity, trauma, and chronic stress. Yeah. What is it? Because, guys, I told you, these people are EVIL. Like you see, when I'm dealing with Dag, I have to take it to the pit of Hades. It doesn't even, Zeus level network won't even fit what's going in here, because it's not, I'm not doing no low brawling, rocking it out with gal and all that. Like that's what you do outside, back in the day when I was a child. This is about strategy. I've been playing chess with Dag from the jump. That's why I go into Greek mythology. Now we're going into Hades, the Odysseys of Hades. Don't play like me and Dag, we're gonna go in it this year. We're gonna be going back to back. We're gonna be going back and forth. I hope Dag is ready. I hope Dag is ready. I hope Dag is ready for the drops that I'm gonna be dropping this year. I hope he's ready. What is abusive is using illness to shame. It's using illness to shame illness. Marve, I'm gonna look at this after, my love. Using gendered narratives to discredit women, using prayer as a platform for fear, ridicule, and control. And this is what I'm exposing, and I'm doing it with clarity. Often favoritism for the singers and musicians because they keep the illusion alive, like they have a team that is already used to the human fecal matterness. Yeah, like Ida can't sing a note to save her life. Thanks, Ange. It's real bad. But Dag keeps her in that position and she follows him everywhere. Why? She must have receipts. Hey, Perp, she must. And I'm gonna be practicing her voice because I'm going to be doing impressions of like people within Christendom, one of them being Hayley Melinda, because I think she's just the MESS. All right, let's get into, I don't know if I want to do the 6 a.m. one. Guys, I've got so much here, you don't understand. What I will say is in Flow Church Cult and church cults like that, they do up what we call prayer as propaganda. PAP. Prayer service is supposed to be supplication, humility, and care. I'll be coming to Ghana soon, as soon as I get my legs back. Because it's not going to be like a long-term thing. It's just my health. I think in the winter, as I'm getting older, this is how my health, I'd actually be better off in a hotter country, living in a hotter country. Because I think that the cold actually messes up my bones and whatever. So you never know, you might get me in Ghana for life. You never know. And I know I'm going to age well. You know, I'm going to be like Maya. Them diplomats and that, they're still going to be on my ass. Do you know what I mean? Are you all right? This voice? Woo. No, I'm just joking. Solomon, we got to break it up though, innit? Because it's so EVIR. But I'll be out there soon. I love Ghana. I can't wait to have authentic Ghanaian food. I can't wait to come out and see my brothers and sisters out there, man. You lot come and take me out and show me what Ghana's really about. I can't wait. I love Ghanaians. I was supposed to actually get married to a Ghanaian, you know, but he married a budget, I want to say stallion version of me. That's all I'm going to say. Instead, he uses it to define enemies, explain why people leave, frame leavers as demonic, reinterpret reality before members are awake enough to question it. That's propaganda delivery, not prayer. Psychologically, this works because people lower their guard in prayer. Spiritual framing bypasses logic. God is saying, and he does a lot of that. And this is called sacralization of ideology, wrapping control narratives in sacred language so they can't be questioned. Another thing I want to do is Dag's very good at reverse psychology. So now he's going to be rubbishing the intellectuals. Like I've heard him say, people like words, like he's tried to do things to like indirectly like throw shots at me. So, you know, like intellects or people know words or whatever it is. But Dag has thrived off being an elitist cult, them being an educated cult, them doing exams. He's very big on reading and he's very big on learning. He's very big on understanding. And that's why I think I learned so much when I was in the cult, because I'm an academic and I love learning and studying. So whilst these girls were concentrating on blowing out their back, eating bananas, getting their backs blown out in the back of the car, in their own car, because remember a lot of these guys don't own cars before they came to preach and sing. But your girl was actually 7 years celibate, actually dissecting the words, actually eating the books. Do you know what I mean? Actually, because I'm a queen. You lot can see right now, like I'm celibate, I'm on my spiritual journey. I'm not in no institution because I've never been a 304. I've always loved God with all my heart. So when I was in the cult, I was radicalized real bad. And my boyfriend had unalived. So in my psyche, I felt like it was like, you know, I was like chosen. I don't know. I was unwell. I was really, really unwell. And environments like this, if you're in psychosis when you enter, by the time you're there for 3 or 6 months, you will be in religious psychosis. Okay. They capture the pure ones easily. Yeah. They do. And babe, like, I think partly why God has used me as well to like speak and stuff is because I think you see a lot of yourselves in me, because everyone I speak to is so lovely, just pure. And that's the thing, guys. We're just pure hearted, man. Crazy to realize how many books they're making from the Bible instead of sharing the Bible itself. Yeah, that's another huge red flag, guys, that they give out Dag's books. Dag spends a lot of money on production for books that could be written by a 5-year-old. And I just think that you're absolutely right. Investing money in getting Bibles mass produced is a much more effective way of doing it. You know, Dag has just wasted paper, time, damage control, and cleaning team. Yeah. And do you know what? They've got a cleaning team for when the women get eaten out of the Great Bowl and essayed as well. Yeah, the older mothers in the church cult, like Jane, you know, Habiba, aka LP Lois, Rachel, Rachel is not a pastor, she's just Ruel's mum, but she works for BMW Finance, so she just had a lot of power in the church cult because she was rich. Oh my God, Marve, look, the next one is damage control. Is it all right? I know it's a bit dark, guys, but on YouTube, but I can't have the light on. I've said if I'm coming on, I've got to be comfortable. All right. Damage control, preemptive narrative lock-in. This is crucial. When Dag says, and this is paraphrased, God allows people to leave because of demons, rebellion, and disloyalty. He is doing up preemptive damage control. Before members hear survivor stories, see exposés, notice patterns of abuse, he gives them a ready-made explanation. Ah, this person left because they're rebellious, influenced the monarch. This prevents curiosity, empathy, independent evaluation. In psychology, this is called inoculation theory. You give people a weakened, distorted explanation before they encounter real evidence, so they reject it automatically. Ooh, so this is where they'll bring in the mystical manipulation as well. God says, I feel the spirit moving. And then I think I'm not going to do all of it, guys. I'm just going to do some of the most important parts because I'm going to be doing content as soon as I feel better. At the moment, I'm just playing around with putting up clips of Dag because you know me, no matter how sick I am, I can always do content on Dag Chale. I just love my daddy Dag so much. I love you, daddy. I love you. Healthy systems understand people leave relationships. Dag doesn't understand that people leave him. Like to Dag, it's because it causes a narcissistic injury. He takes it personally. Like in Dag's psyche, he's crazy. In Dag's psyche, he believes like if people leave him, they're demonic. But people outgrow environments, Dag. People have free will to leave, Dag. Someone's got to tell you, sweetie. Because you've completely lost it. And you've just got loads of puppets around you who are severely indoctrinated and quite frankly mentally unwell, so they're robots. So Dag, someone's got to tell you, and that someone is me, sweetie. Harm causes exit, Dag. People don't just get up one day and leave, Dag. There's reasons. It's not just, you can't put everybody in a box, Dag, and say, it's because they're offended, it's because they want to go and get their back blown out. Not everybody does, Dag. And that's very black and white thinking, Dag. So his framework says leaving equals spiritual defect, questioning equals rebellion, or dang is amazing. Separation equals demonic. This replaces relational accountability with moral condemnation. So it protects the leader psychologically from self-examination, feedback, repair, and accountability, and places all the fault on the leaver, even when abuse occurred or when someone's been great or whatever. So these 6 a.m. flow prayers, they're early morning rituals. They're coercive control broadcasts. They increase group cohesion. They increase social conformity, increase obedience, peer pressure, sacrifice sleep for this, create an inner circle mentality, and elitist, those who wake up for flow and those who don't. What he's doing in these 6 a.m. flow prayers isn't prayer. It's psychological conditioning. He's using sleep deprivation, altered states, and spiritual language to reframe people who leave as demonic and rebellious because he used his book, Those Who Leave. That's damage control. It inoculates members against survivor stories before they hear them. It's propaganda wrapped in prayer, and it's a textbook cult control technique. All right, let's get into it. Those who leave you, what the doctrine is really doing. In Those Who Leave You, Dag Heward-Mills teaches that when people leave, it is caused by rebellion, driven by demons, evidence of disloyalty, pride, or spiritual corruption. Like one way is to have one to copy you, but being more popular. That's how they deal with unwanted people. They attack them. Yeah. It's all an attack. And then they act like the victim. And the world's so evil and so bad. But it's them. It's them. It's them. They're the ones that the Bible's talking about. Psychologically, this does three very dangerous things at once. It pathologizes exit. So leaving is no longer a response to harm, moral decision, act of consciousness, because they don't feel God there. It's not a you problem. It's not a them problem. It's a you problem. So this reframing removes legitimacy from every possible reason someone might leave, including abuse, exploitation, or conscious. It's like that doesn't go on here. Oh, thanks, Blue Green. I'm glad. Because this man is just EVIR and it's for people's safety. Demonization equals dehumanization. Calling people who leave demonic is not metaphorical. In psychology and sociology, demonization strips people of moral credibility, makes empathy feel dangerous, justifies shunning and hostility. That's really important. It justifies shunning and hostility, excommunication. Once someone is framed as under demonic influence, anything they say can be dismissed without being examined. So that's why they paint the women as demonic Jezebels, because it's like you're just a 304, a HOE. You know, it's your fault. It's a woman's fault because she has seduced the man. So grapists thrive, PDFs thrive, Preds thrive in these environments, okay? Once someone is framed as under demonic influence, it's like their voice is not heard, all right? This is why survivors are silenced. Reversal of victim and perpetrator. This doctrine flips reality. The system is innocent. The leader is righteous. The survivor becomes the threat. The woman is the HOE. It is a modus operandi. If SA is a repetitive action and the victims become homeless or worse, like their handle, trademark. Yeah, well, if they place their accommodation, the women will become homeless. But there's women that can't leave because they are married. They ain't got no income. There's women that men put hands on. They're like immigrants. They don't have their papers here, guys. There's all like my heart just goes. That's why I said for my African brothers and sisters, the Ghanaian ones. Like I know you lot struggles, man. Like there's bare immigrants in the church cult right now. They don't have papers and they're living with like church cult members. Like how are they ever going to leave? Like they'll never leave. So this is known as DARVO: deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. So deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender, commonly seen in abusive systems. Why he is preaching this now? This doctrine always resurfaces when people are leaving in visible numbers, because remember, that's what you realize when you leave, that when they preach in there, it's always about hurt or offense or something that's going on. But because they're able to like do information control, propaganda, control the narrative, they're not able to do that with me because I will not be silenced. And you know me, I'm just a superstar. Everybody wants to hear and see, including their members. A lot of their leaders have a crush on me. A lot of their leaders don't block that person because I think they might have recently come out. Do you know what I mean? They're all coming on here to see, is Leah in a good place or a bad place? Because you know when I'm in a good place, you're going to see me shaking that ass. You're going to see me twerking. You're going to see me looking good. So they will be preaching loyalty and disloyalty if someone leaves and starts speaking out against the church cult. And actually, I'm just going to say the loyalty and disloyalty series, because those who leave you comes under the loyalty and disloyalty, is it collection or whatever? Survivors are speaking publicly, allegations are circulating, control is being threatened. So the message is not spiritual, it's reactive. And that's why the people don't get fed. They're in there just like spiritually malnourished, unaliving. It's just the DUMB 304s. Like they give them beloveds. That's why they make it all about beloveds and make women into pick-me's, because then they can just give them a husband. And then when they start blowing out their back and giving them a little child, then they're kind of like, do you know what I mean? They're kind of taken. That's why you see when they get married young, they just start popping out the babies unless they're barren. If they don't have babies when they're young, it's because they're having problems conceiving. because they're just impregnating the young girls back to back so that they'll just be in a system of getting the kids ready, going to work, and then taking them to the church cult. It will take them a lot longer to wake up. But one thing I will say is they think they're smart by impregnating the young gal them back to back and whatever. But when them young gal like wake up out of the spell, they're gonna be even angrier than me. He is not addressing leavers, he is securing those who remain. So he doesn't care. Dag doesn't care that he's looking like an idiot. I'm glad I left. Hardest decision of my life. Me too. Me too, babe. Me too. You know, my dad, I never had my dad growing up. My mum tried her best, but I had a traumatic childhood, man. Me and my mum have only started repairing our relationship since I left the cult. That's the honest truth. And I really felt like these people were my family and I trusted them. And I never had my dad around, and I saw Reverend Edmund like my actual dad. I loved that man more than anyone in life, more than my husband, more than my kids, more than myself. And so when you say that leaving was the hardest thing you ever had to do, just at that point, I come back to that. And you know, I was thinking about a way that I can always keep, like, have empathy and love and compassion in my psyche for survivors as I'm deprogramming and things like that. Back in the day when I was doing my driving, because I'm a fast driver in it, and my driving instructor said to me, "Oh, Leah, when you," because I used to be like, "Oh, why don't they have patience when I'm learning to drive?" And he said, "Oh, when you get your license, 10 years from now, you'll be beeping them. You won't have patience for the new drivers." And I said, "Yes, I will." And it's something that I remember to this day. So I still have patience for the learners. And it's like that kind of came to my mind, and it made me think like that's how you have to see it, you know, like you've deconstructed or seen a certain light, you know, the other people are just with their L plates. Do you know what I mean? That have just come out. So there's a certain level of empathy and compassion that we should have, you know, for one another. But yeah, I get it. And we did it. We did it. We left, babe. And that's what makes us survivors. Apparently, to Dag, a survivor is someone who prays. Shabaya sataya baba ba shata. That's what makes you a survivor. So this message is not spiritual, it's reactive. Miss L. Rose, are you here? It functions as narrative control, reputation defense, containment of dissent. Dag is not addressing leavers, he's securing those who remain. That's really important. Okay, so why Flow Sunday? Flow prayer is the chosen platform. Prayer bypasses critical thinking. That's crucial to understand. When something's framed as prayer, members suspend analysis, disagreement feels sinful, logic is replaced with submission. This allows ideology to be implanted without debate because they're sleep deprived, they're up at like 6 a.m. And depending on where you are in the world, it's going to be all different times, isn't it? And that makes people neurologically vulnerable. It exploits fatigue, emotional openness, lowered cognitive resistance. The brain is more suggestible in this state, and that's why they prefer early hours, late nights, like, you know, all nights, early hours at the crack of dawn. They justify it by, you know, Jesus woke up. What was it at the what was it the thing of the what was it, crack of dawn or whatever, at sunset, or what was it, sunrise, to pray. They've got, listen, I know every scripture these false prophets use. Share 18 years. That's why they hate to see your girl coming. I could preach better than them, or to come back to the conversation at a later time. You get no time to speak your mind at those moments or come back to the conversation at a later time. Yeah, no time to think, Marve. No time to question. You're absolutely bloody spot on. And that is why I say to survivors, like, when you come out with decision making, don't be so quick to give an answer. So even if someone like invites you somewhere and you know you're gonna go, just get those your brain, like, you know, get it to start working again. Oh, I'll get back to you, my love. Let me just check my diary. Yeah, give yourself to think things through. Like, do you really want to go as well? All right. I want to talk about the collective enforcement and the idiots that are still in there, severely and heavily indoctrinated. Flow services are communal. This is where Dad gets his main form of supply because he can contain it. When everyone types amen or agrees publicly or repeats declarations, social conformity kicks in. Dissent becomes psychologically costly. Like everybody has to like copy everybody, even though Dag's speaking absolute human fecal matter, and we love it. And he frames leavers as rebellious, protects him from taking accountability. If people leave because abuse happens, the system must change or take accountability. Exploitation occurred, leadership is accountable. But if people leave because of demons, rebellion, disloyalty, then no reform is required. This belief system is self-healing. Evidence against it becomes proof of rebellion. Criticism becomes confirmation of demonic influence because he's unwell. Do you see now why I'm saying Dag's unwell? That's hallmark of cult ideology. Cult leaders are mentally insane. And for survivors who already carry shame, guilt, grief, isolation, trauma bonds, being labeled rebellious, demonic, disloyal, re-traumas them, triggers them, and discourages others from speaking. And it also justifies abuse, shunning, legitimizes smear campaigns, and erases abuse without ever naming it. Thank you, Blue Green. Okay, Sincera song. I'm so glad you said that. YouTube, you can't see his eyes, but for me, Dag's eye area, the eyebrows and the eyes, it just gives, yeah, you can see what he is, a warlock. But he's been exposed now. I just want to say that at a deeper level, this doctrine protects narcissistic authority because he is one. Infallibility, so he's infallible, we can't question him. Image and his reputation, because everything in Dag's cult is about reputation, 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 reputation. That's why sometimes I come out here looking like a mad gal. Because it's like, stop lying. Most people in your cult are broke. The bread and butter of your cult is, like most of the YTs that they got in there is people from the hood. It's YTs on benefits. It's YTs with mental health. Like, come on, man. You don't get no YTs that are politicians and have um good jobs in the city and all that. I told you, lot, 2026. I'm saying it exactly as it is. I don't give it up. Minakir. So a healthy leader asks, why did people leave? A threatened leader asks, how do I make leaving unthinkable? How do I scare people? How do I put people into a paralysis of fear? How do I control what people are saying? How do I control the talking? How do I demonize and dehumanize members that have left? No emotion, stone cold. No, you can see from the eyes. This guy's dark, man. Okay, there's another bit. Um, oh yeah. This is the bit that I wanted to do. What those who leave you teaches. So now I want us to like really go through what his book teaches because it's just so demonic. According to the book itself, the opening summary says, people who leave you can destroy you. Satan was the first rebel and has inspired all rebellion since then. So in Dag's psyche, if you leave him, you're a rebel and you're Satan. Yeah. This guy has so many issues. With this book in your hand, you will rise up and fight the spirit of disloyalty that is released by those who leave you. So if someone leaves you, that it's now a fighting. Dag's like a child throwing his toys out the pram, innit, Carlo? Chapter 2 explicitly states, the spirit of Lucifer operates in those who leave in rebellion. Satan is the archetypal rebel who left the service of God and became an enemy. Satan's prime aim is to destabilize the church you are building. This book goes on based on content lists to characterize leavers as sowing instability, holding unvoiced messages, setting bad examples, sowing seeds of discord, needing to be identified and fought against in spiritual terms. I want to let you know that my strategy, because I can say it now, because I've got him to where I need to get him to. I embodied and became the archetype and the epitome of Dag's invisible enemy, which is a disloyal son or daughter of the house. There was never any disloyal sons and daughters of the house. I could have just come on here and spoken my truth and done it really calmly and did it really, but I did it to get back at Dag. Because now you have a real enemy in it. Like now there's a real army in the form of the collective that are speaking out. That's why I did it like that. Because he's been lying this whole time. But now you have a real enemy in a real life, in real time, that's out here really talking about you in these streets. The loyalty and disloyalty series, which the book is part of, teaches that disloyalty is one of the greatest dangers to ministry. Sorry. Demonization of human agency. This book does not treat leaving as a human response to problems or when things don't work out or just, just a natural flow and cycle of life. Instead, it frames exits as a spiritual rebellion, behavior inspired by Satan, something that releases destruction. This means natural human choices become spiritually corrupted. Legitimate decisions like protecting yourself are defined as evil. For anyone thinking about leaving due to harm, including assault, exploitation, or coercion, this teaching erases their reasons, converts their survival mode into a spiritual crime. He also gets his members to sign NDAs, put their watches and phones in a bucket. It's become more secretive. And this is psychological pressure to stay despite harm. Pathologizing survivors instead of validating experiences. And I'm going to go soon, guys, because I'm getting tired. But I wanted to come on here, talk to you guys a little bit before, and then I'll take my tramadol. For survivors of abuse, schmegschul, financial, spiritual, leaving a system is often a survival tool, a boundary, a matter of safety. But this book does the opposite. It labels exits as rebellion. It morally condemns autonomy. It ties dissent to spiritual danger. This is so bad. And that purposefully silences survivors by making them feel spiritually at fault for protecting themselves. Because as soon as I started to clock that Dag's it's just all human fecal matter. And he used to say this thing like, when you leave, just leave. Don't come and start poo-pooing and wee-weeing in the clear waters that people are still eating out of. So they really indoctrinate you to make you believe it's a you problem. So when I started to clock that the whole purpose of the abuse was to silence us, that's when I started coming up with that slogan, silence is compliance, silence is compliance. Because I remember hearing it from, like the George Floyd days, and when there was that real, like black empowerment kind of movement. Leadership, immunity, and paradigm of blame. Instead of asking people, why did you leave? The doctrine teaches it is rebellion inspired by the devil. This is classic narcissistic self-protection. Leaders remove self-scrutiny, accountability, systems remain unexamined, harm is explained away as spiritual warfare. Psychologically, this is externalization. All failure is attributed to forces outside the leader or system. And then when you do good, it's attributed to all forces inside of the leader or the system. It's because he prayed. It's not because you were doing up IVF for 2 years and you've done it 4 times and on the 4th time it's worked. It's because Prophet Dag laid hands on you. So it's just DUMB. Those who leave you frames leaving as spiritual rebellion inspired by Satan, not legitimate choice. This demonizes survivors and makes exit a moral spiritual offense. It protects leadership from accountability by blaming rebel invisible spirits. The invisible child. The devil must be. I always say the devil's on the private island getting a suntan somewhere. These are them. These are the DEVILs. It's not an invisible person, Chale. We can't see Lucifer, but we can see Dag. It encourages members to view departure as a threat rather than a signal for reflection or care. This fits psychological patterns of coercive control and cultic loyalty enforcement. And quickly, guys, I want to get into loyalty and disloyalty. I'm just going to start it. Let's agree, many can't listen like a normal person, but they are prejudgmental, protective, and disobedient to conflicting interests. Did you mean say provocative, conflicting interests? Marve, because I can't really see because the light's not that bright. I'm trying. All right, I want to do a deep dive into loyalty and disloyalty because the book is a central doctrinal tool in that system. It's crucial to understand the psychological mechanisms, the transcendental belief systems, not just the theology. So, loyalty and disloyalty, what the teaching literally says. So, we looked at the loyalty and disloyalty material as directly as possible based on teachings, content, and all of that, what's available. What proof do you have there? I don't understand you. Can you speak English? In Loyalty and Disloyalty, Heward Mills claims, loyalty is the highest spiritual virtue, exceeding even moral goodness. Disloyalty is a spiritual disease that prevents blessing, advancement, favor, and fruit. That's why they categorize fruit bearing as like, doing stuff in the cult, like bringing souls to the cult, because then it isolates and cuts other people off and makes them elitist when we know the fruits of the spirit is joy, love, kindness. Do you understand? Are you not getting it? The psychology. He describes multiple stages because they hijack language of disloyalty, where once a person becomes disloyal, they allegedly spiral into reluctance, grumbling, murmuring, criticism, outright rebellion as a spiritual developmental pathology, because Dag's a doctor, so he likes to pathologize things. Do you get what I'm saying? He's got a sick mind. Yeah. Dag also studied the medicine that you study people who have unalived. He's weird. While the exact chapter and verses quotes are from this, the core doctrinal progression he teaches is disloyal thought, disloyal word, disloyal action, affection for disloyalty, commitment to disloyalty, identification as disloyal, with warnings that at each stage, the person moves further into spiritual ruin. The teaching frames disloyalty as a trajectory of spiritual decline, not as a human decision or response to harm. What loyalty becomes in this system. The doctrine equates loyalty with everything good: obedience, submission, silence, assent, alignment with leadership. To my brother and sisters in Ghana, get into nature, get into blood clot nature. Go and take your Bible. You lot have got the sea, you've got the beach, you've got the outside, you've got the forest. Go and dance in outside in land. Go and do stuff, read. Go and film some content. Do something, be active. Stop being in these cults. Like, you're just inside 24 hours a day and you've got that beautiful land. But significantly, not loyalty to people, nor loyalty to well-being or truth, but loyalty to the system and to the loyalty to the leader's interpretation of God. And that is why you have to know the doctrine, do exams on the doctrine. We have quizzes on the doctrine, Titus and Crete, where we are berated and put in a red hot seat to know the doctrine. In practice, if you question, you're disloyal. If you speak out, you're disloyal. If you leave, you're disloyal. If you experience harm, you're disloyal. You must interpret it as a test, not a problem. You're disloyal. This is no longer relational loyalty. This is absolute ideological submission, totalistic environment. I know the TIC meeting. Was you in one? It's horrible, isn't it? They just BEAT you psychologically, and they actually put hands on people. Indeed, allegedly, they've like Bishop Richard's been seen to throw chairs, tables, like flip tables. Just the cart before the horse. Loyalty as control. Oh, I'm scared to move because once I move, I'm just gonna be in pain. In healthy communities, loyalty follows respect, mutual care, accountability, transparent leadership. In coercive groups, loyalty is made to precede everything before safety, thinking, before truth, before empathy, before accountability. Key before thinking. This is not spirituality. This is authoritarian socialization, indoctrination, and complete control. Military totalitarian framing. This cult is run like an army, yeah, but it's like a princess army because most of the women are the generals, the men are just weak. The language in loyalty and disloyalty borrows heavily from hierarchical command structures. Military obedience models absolute felty paradigms. This shifts the frame from spiritual growth to battle readiness. This is critical psychology. In a military model, obedience is valorized. So it's like you've got valor. It's almost like seen as a good thing. It's like I want to say worshipped almost, or seen as something important. It's like saying a man of valor. So it's seen as something good, something great to have to be obedient. Questioning orders is treason. Dissent is a threat. Cohesion is enforced, not chosen. This creates a house system where love is redefined as obedience. If you do not obey, you are not loved. That is not healthy. That psychology is totalitarian psychological control. So a lot of you lot that grew up in African homes have grown up in totalitarian psychological controlling homes. So that's what makes second geners more at risk to join in these abusive, high control environments. Okay, you've brought and raised your kids to be slaves and to be bottom bees to the whitey man. So they exploit on that fact in these church cults. Okay, and that's why the epicenters work so well in Africa because there's just the disparity of education is a lot wider. It's not like the UK where education is free. Everybody gets, the system, the government, invest in public state. They just don't. If you're poor over there, you're poor. Do you know what I mean? If you're living in a hut, you're living in a hut. If you've lost your legs and you're on a skateboard, you're on a skateboard. Like that would never happen in the UK. So Dag tries to use like their rationale and their thinking to demonize like cult members because he's losing a lot of influence in the UK. So he's trying to scramble in Ghana now. But the Ghanaians are getting so woke because of like social media, like TikTok. They're just silent with it because they're afraid. And I get it because Dag's got a lot of power over there. So they can't be as vocal as the British survivors. But it's going to take someone RADICAL like myself who just minakir, he or she, and she's just going to be exposing it up because she won't care. I hope it's a baddie, like a baddie who's got mandem to protect her chair. That's what we need, a Ghanaian baddie to expose Dag. All right, so let's look at the psychology behind the stages of disloyalty as a control ladder. So here's how the doctrine functions as a progressive psychological trap. Stage one, ungoverned thought. You doubt silently, you're already off track. Psychological impact, constant self monitoring, anxiety about inner experience. So that's how we start to lose self. Ungoverned speech. You express a thought outside the system. You're publicly labeled as disloyal. You're broken down. So the impact is suppression of authentic voice. Stage three, disloyal action. You act on your needs, boundaries. You are framed spiritually deficient. Impact, body and autonomy eroded. So you'll hear men say, I married the woman I need, not the woman I want. Affection for disloyalty. You feel relief after leaving. Framed as attachment to sin, impact, internalized shame. Stage 5, commitment to disloyalty. You continue self-care, self-agency, labeled a traitor, labeled disloyal, labeled a strange woman, labeled a Jezebel, labeled the devil. Impact, isolation, loss of community, loss of self. And also, it makes you like a doormat for a man and turns you into a pick-me. Identification as disloyal. You see yourself as an antagonist in their narrative. Impact, psychological abandonment, self-doubt, voice suppression. Again, this isn't theology, it's coercive identity formation. Why this is especially harmful to survivors: for anyone who has experienced trauma, abuse, violation, financial exploitation, manipulative control, this doctrine does not speak to healing, consent, safety, or autonomy. Instead, it tells you your decision to leave is spiritually wrong, your survival instinct is demonic, your voice is disloyal, you should remain silent, your boundaries are rebellion. That's why do you know majority of these gal them that have been in the church cult, yeah, whose psychological like their psyche, they seen boundaries as rebellion. So that's how the pastors got into the yard in the first place, to eat out of the grape bowl and essay them, because they can't say no to the pastor. They can't. It's disrespectful. How are they going to say no to a man turning up at their door at 12 o'clock? Like a British UK born member will be like, why are you here? Why are you here past at this time? You know, like that's how they see us, as Western. Like we got no control. We're rude. We don't. Do you understand? So that's why they like going for like you gal them from back home. That's why they like you, because it's like your doormats, and that's just the truth. Why total loyalty equals total control? The doctrine does this by pathologizing dissent. Dissent becomes spiritually unhealthy, so you can't speak your own mind, you can't have your opinion. Elevating obedience. Obedience becomes the only virtue, the main virtue, the reason people get promoted. It's not because of their talent, it's not because of their creativity, it's not because of their beauty, it's because of how obedient, how far you are swimming in the intestines of Dag Heward Mills. Do you understand what I'm telling you? You got to be all up in that batty crease until you're in the intestines. Defining truth as conformity, only the leader's interpretation is valid. Making exit a crime. Is it a crime? In Dag Heward Mills cult, yes it is. Yes it is. You like, they act like you've unalived when you've left, like your life is over. Leaving is equated with rebellion and demons. That's why, like, where I'm talking out, they're trying to brush me with the madness and the demons, but I'm too smart. I'm too smart. I'm speaking too much sense. Erasing injury, and I believe God has brought me to this position where I'm like bedbound. So I've had to calm down, like speak slower, speak more calmly. I believe that too woke in a life, in it, baby. That's why for my Ghanaian brothers and sisters, they must be trying to listen to me. Oh, hi, Tenny. Oh my God, Tenny, I love you so much. Tenny, I will get back to you. I just, babe, I'm bedridden at the moment. Can't move my legs much. Backs and do you know what the thing is? And that's why when Dag's saying that he did this curse on me, I'm like, just get out of there, man. Do you know how long I've been complaining about my back to this NHS? Like about the pain in my back, and it's just deteriorated because I've had like no support. Because every time, you got to understand, there's so much stuff wrong with me with this autoimmune thing. I can't go to get to like physio because I'm in pain to leave, and then I'm ill as well. Anyway, erasing injury. Abuse cannot be discussed. We can reschedule when you're ready. Yeah, definitely, my love. Once I get my car back and I'm mobile again, we'll definitely reschedule. It is always a test, yeah. So that's why they say the Lord rebuke those whom the Lord chasteneth or rebukes those whom he loveth. So it's like, this is so hard. Like, it's like abuse is a way of testing your loyalty or whatever. So it's horrible. Psychologically, cults do precisely this. The group defines reality, and reality is what the group declares to be true. So that's why I said, like, your reality becomes distorted, and then they start, you know, pulling the strings. This replaces internal compass with external command. So the psychological impact of this over time is, over years in such an environment, many survivors report hypervigilance, monitoring thoughts for disloyalty, anxiety about inner experience, self-censorship. And that is, like, I heard a lot of girls saying this, like they felt guilty when they would wear their arms out for looking a bit schmegsy. They would feel like they've sinned, like that self-censorship. It's like you beat yourself down, like psychologically. So when you come out, you're still beating yourself down. So you need to, like, learn to love yourself and be kind and be gentle to yourself, especially when you're advising self. Numbness to personal boundaries, so having no boundaries, confusion between obedience and love, fear of internal disagreement, difficulty trusting personal judgment, loss of autonomy over decisions. That's why I said, like, when you come out, don't be getting into no serious relationship because the guy's just going to abuse you. I understand that there's some girls that want to get their back blown out, so just get your back blown out. Just get your back blown out. Because the same thing's going to happen. The guy's going to come and use and abuse you and mad up your head because you're vulnerable. And if you're a sensitive guy and you know you're like B2K, you know, a lover boy, guys, I'm from the 2000s. I was born in 87. So I don't know who else to use. Big up all the B2K fans. Where's all the gal them that used to love what was it? What's his name? Frisbee. And Marian. Do you not remember them? Oh God. These are not spiritual states. They are neuropsychological consequences of authoritarian conditioning. Oh, thanks, Purple. But you're just seeing the inner beauty. Thank you. Because I look at MESS at the moment. Yeah. No nails did. And you know what, guys? This is the worst part about when I get ill. Because it's like, I can't get my nails done. And you lot know my nails is like, look at my eyes. But I appreciate you. I really do. So let's look at why this teaching is dangerous. It pathologizes autonomy. Leaving isn't a choice. It's a spiritual defect by definition. By whose definition? Dag's definition. Because if you leave, you're rebellious, you're a devil. So it makes people scared. And I know it's a bit hard to conceptualize, but when you're in there, your whole life revolves around this cult. Yeah. So you do care about their opinions. And they've programmed you to be like a doormat and to care about people's opinions and to be a people pleaser and to be a beg and to cry when your pastor's giving you silent treatment and not talking to you. And it's like being in a relationship with someone who's violent. That's exactly how it is. It moralizes obedience. Obedience becomes the only allowed expression of love. It demonizes dissent. Questioning becomes the only allowed expression of love. Yeah, it does make you very insecure. You're right. And you know what? It makes you question yourself. And when you question yourself, you question your reality. And that's how you go mad. Because you don't know who you are. It demonizes dissent. Questioning is equated with spiritual betrayal. So you see in your psyche, it starts to make you go mad, child. It erases harm. You can't name abuse because abuse equals disloyalty. Do you get it? So it's like so the abuse you can't name the abuse because it didn't happen. It's your fault. It wasn't abuse. It's projection. It's your fault. It conditions identity suppression. Your identity becomes fused to conformity. So you have to conform to what they want you to do. This is not healthy theology. This is coercive control ideology under religious language. I'm going to say that again. This is not healthy theology. This is coercive control ideology under religious language. They just use religious language as a cloak. So now I'm going to give you direct quotes from Loyalty and Disloyalty with sources. so that we can just use his exact quotes. When anyone you relate with is disloyal, do not expect, oh, hey, Queen Alita, do not expect the person to announce, I don't support you. So here are some actual quotes from the book, yeah? So that show his tone, that show the framing, and they appear verbatim in the book. When anyone you relate with is disloyal, do not expect the person to announce, I don't support you. This illustrates how disloyalty is presented as hidden, deceptive, and insidious rather than an honest human decision. So that will make anyone be paranoid. Yeah? Confidence is an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint. This metaphor frames human relational disappointment as spiritual failure and rupture. When things go wrong, unfaithful narcissists are quick to say, I knew all along that this would not work. Here, that dissatisfaction or critique is labeled as unfaithfulness, not legitimate concern or reasoned disagreement. A dissatisfied assistant is not happy about the differences between himself and his head that make him look subordinate. So this frames autonomy or independent thinking as resentment and disloyal temperament. And there's a lot around like people having to know their role and humble themselves. Like you're not greater than your master. You're not greater than, your the head pastor and whatever. So these quotes show a pattern. Any divergence from absolute alignment isn't a difference of opinion or boundary. It's a sign of spiritual defect. FYI, all the pastors in the church cult have to preach from Dag Heward Mills' books. The stages of disloyalty and what they present. The book explicitly states that disloyalty is a process, not a single act. It outlines a progression that leaders are encouraged to watch for. Independent spirit, thinking for oneself outside of direction. Okay, so when you're just thinking for yourself, guys, you have an independent spirit. Offense, feeling hurt or unsettled by leadership. So you can't say when something upsets you. That whole spirit of offense culture and being independent spirit, that's what's caused a lot of people to go mad, go sick. Because if the guy's been cheating on you with several other women, you just got to lap it up and just get on with it, and just still be in the cult because now he's decided which woman he wants to marry. And you've just got to act like nothing ever happened because you're the Jezebel. And now they've decided which of the girls he's going to marry. You've just been discarded, but you still have to be in the church and come in smiling and not be offended. This is the type of human fecal matter, illogical, just madness that's happening in there. And this is why people go mad, because it's absolute madness. Passivity, withdrawing engagement. I remember, like Dag says, even when you show up, it's a message. So you can't win. You show up, you can't win. You don't show up, you can't win. If a girl's on her period and in extreme pain, if she's not coming in smiling, singing and dancing, there's something wrong with her. Why is her face squeezed? That's what they say. Why have you squeezed your face? Why does your face look like that? You know what I mean? They want to control you because in there, it's going to be so performative and everybody's got to be happy and smiling like a big, pump up Sesame Street character. We've got to be like, Teletubbies, say hello. That's what we say by performative Christianity. Hello, I'm Sarah. Welcome to... It's just fake. Critical attitude, questioning leadership publicly or privately is not allowed. So you're a devil, you're a whatever word they want to call you. For questioning, you're disloyal, you're an orangu. Political maneuvering, building alternative alliances. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to have no friendships or no connections outside the cult. Open rebellion. No, sorry, deception, concealing honest feelings. Open rebellion, defying leadership commands. And that's why I decided to come out myself, speak my truth, not give what, because of these particular stages of disloyalty. I wanted to annihilate it, and I have. That's why I don't care about your little disloyalty and loyalty. Call me disloyal. Me not blood clock here. And then we've got the execution, self-destruction. And this is a full break and distancing from the system. Yeah, so that's when they discard you and you're left to self-destruct now because you've left Dag Heward Mills' precious cult. So Dag Heward Mills is such an arc. that he believes when you leave, it's like you're unalive spiritually. You're like you've been left to self-destruction, because Dag is God's gift, and he's a light to the world. And if you don't have his light and you don't have his gift of preaching and teaching, you're doomed. Hell, and self-destruction. It will not be well with your life. So this framework treats natural human reactions to harm, disagreement, autonomy, and boundary setting as a pathological escalating disease process rather than legitimate responses to harmful situations. And that's why you need to free your mind and deconstruct, because I'm so like mentally like powerful and strong that even though I heard Dad trying to say he did this to my health and my legs and whatever, I just won't believe it. Do you know what I mean? Because I know that this is down to my autoimmune disease. Like I've done a lot of work like looking into how this has been caused, like this, that, and the third. But if you don't put in the work, because for lack of knowledge our people perish, then he's going to be able to run circuits around in your head. And that's why a lot of people are still paro, still scared of people, still scared what they're going to think, say, all of that. And then we've got loyalty redefined as military style instead of relation, human ethic. In loyalty and disloyalty, loyalty is framed not as reciprocal care, mutual respect, safe community, or healthy attachment, but as absolute obedience, conformity to leadership, suppression of personal intuition, group allegiance above self. This is not typical relational loyalty, it's military. Authoritarian loyalty, where dissent equals treason, critique equals spiritual breach, and independence is a threat. Do you see why you can't have autonomy and authenticity? Because autonomy and individuality is seen as a threat, and independence. You need autonomy, you need it to be independent, and you need authenticity in order to become a threat. Yeah. And this is psychologically harmful because it replaces autonomy with obedience, love with obedience, internal moral agency with external commands, rules, orders, survivor voice with suppression. So how the book is used in practice. So all, as you know, all the pastors have to preach from Dag's books, and no matter what book they're preaching on, loyalty is ingrained in the very blood of the preachers that are trying to do up being an absolute clone of Dag. So they like loyalty and disloyalty will come into it, and then he's done a series on loyalty and disloyalty. So there's other books that encompass the whole message. Yeah, like Those Who Leave You, they're always preaching loyalty and disloyalty because Dag has a fear that people will leave him and then expose him. So in groups that preach loyalty and disloyalty, and it's actually one of the characteristics of a cult, only the leader's writings are allowed as preaching sources. Any learning outside the leader is framed as spiritual contamination. Members are trained to equate loyalty with sacrificing personal judgment and safety for the leader's authority. I also want to say with the spiritual contamination, that's why when they outreach you and you say, oh, I go to a church, it's like they're not having a bar of it, because they believe that they're given special anointed prophetic utterances, and their prophet is like a special anointed man of God. So yeah, anything outside of that they see as spiritual contamination. So it creates identity fusion with the leader, constant monitoring of thoughts and speech for signs of disloyalty. So that's why they're in everyone's business. That's why they chat everyone's business. That's why there's a culture of gossip. That's why the first ladies use counseling and you being a leader to just gossip and chat off people's business. Emotional suppression of doubt or critique, it's coercive control, masquerading as spiritual virtue. All right, let's get into the Absalom theory, guys, and then I'm going to leave it here because I've done a lot. But it's because I haven't been on for a while. So let me see if I can push this up. And then I'm going to go make some porridge. Oh, it'll not be easy for me, but I don't care. I'll be here on bedridden chair, still exposing Dad. The Absalom analogy, how it is misapplied. In the Bible story, 2 Samuel 13-18, Absalom is most often portrayed in scripture as enraged by his half-brother, Amnon's eaten out of the grape bowl of his sister Tamar. because King David did not administer justice after the act. Absalom took it upon himself to retaliate, eventually escalating into rebellion. In other words, David's inaction was abusive and enabled harm to continue, escalate, and get out of hand, because David didn't uphold the laws which he governed, but he made an exception for his son, and Absalom weren't having that. So that triggered anger, trauma, and an extreme response where consequences of that systemic, which were consequences of that systemic failure. The story is complex, not a simple lesson about loyalty and disloyalty, because Dag's got a whole section on Absalom and uses it to call people Absalom, evil, whatever. So in this cult framing, in the loyalty and disloyalty book, Absalom is used as an archetype for disloyal persons. They label anyone who leaves, questions, or speaks out as like Absalom, morally and spiritually corrupt. I'm just thinking, is that my delivery? Wait a minute, guys. Let me just double check. Because I cannot afford for this microwave to not come chair. You know, my microwave's broken. And every time I have to look out of the window, I'm stretching myself. Oh, sorry, guys. What part was I up to? I can't even remember. Oh, yeah. Okay, we're here. Oh, yeah. Were we doing direct quotes? Oh, no. Oh, no. We did this one. Oh, yeah, the Absalom theory. Okay. So, so Absalom's used as an archetype for disloyal persons. They label anyone who leaves, questions, or speaks out as like Absalom, morally and spiritually corrupt. This is a weaponized biblical reading. It collapses a complex narrative about justice, trauma, and leadership failure into a caricature of rebellion as evil. Thank you for the follow. It erases the context of violence, abuse, and systemic failure present in the original story. It uses the name Absalom as cult jargon for a disloyal person, not as a nuanced biblical character. That's not biblical exegesis. How do I say that? That symbolic distortion for the that symbolic distortion for the purpose of control. So why this teaching is psychologically dangerous? It pathologizes autonomy. By making independent thought the first stage of disloyalty, people are conditioned to fair self-reflection and legitimate questioning. It uses fear and shame to suppress the voice. If you disagree, analyze, seek outside input, leave for safety, you're told you're on a trajectory towards upward rebellion and corruption. And they do the same thing for arranged marriages to make you like, there's a lot of people who are married to unfortunate looking women. They wake up in the morning and it's like HELL. It's like a prison sentence. They're married to a regular degular. Life is boring. Life is human fecal matter. It's the same life over and over again. They don't even want to blow out their wife's back. Absolutely zero attraction. Nothing. The book teaches that leaving equals a spiritual disease. This is damaging, dishonest, and psychologically abusive. So, loyalty and disloyalty reframes normal human agency as pathological and spiritually corrupt. Using language like confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth to characterize dissent as spiritual failure. It uses metaphors and examples that equate questioning, learning outside the system, and dissent with traitorous behavior, suppressing natural agency. The cult uses this teaching to police members' minds, making loyalty mean absolute obedience and silence, not mutual respect or safety. The Absalom narrative is deployed as cult jargon to demonize survivors, ignoring the actual context of trauma, justice, failure, and systemic abuse in the biblical context. Do this, do that communication without depth. The goal for them is to give others orders without resistance. You, Ari, instincts, body is protecting. They are accusing, for example. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Marve is so good, isn't it? That's why I always come back to your comments. It's so true. The body's resisting, but you have to take on the orders, isn't it? Mad. It's so EVIL. It's worse. It's worse than... I would rather you BEAT me. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather you BEAT me, because then I can go to the doctors. You can see my head is bust open. You can see my head split open. You can see where the bleeders come from. You can try with psychological ABUSE when they're BE work. It could take years to diagnose. 11 years. That like anyway. All right, I want to talk about, and this is going to be the last thing I talk about, guys, and then I'm going to go because I don't know if I'm going to be on live tomorrow. So I wanted this to be a long one. And guys, you can go on YouTube and rewatch this. It is going to be a dark recording, yeah. But you've got Dag's books there, Loyalty and Disloyalty. Play it when you're cleaning, or when you're doing something. All right. So guys, at the moment, yeah, it's always yeah, you can't see it when it's psychological. So what's going on, guys, at the moment is that there's a part in Dag's book called the fifth column, yeah, and this is basically when like people are fighting from the inside. But this never happened. He just put it in there because he didn't want it to avoid it happening. It's like the fear. Because it's all psychology. He put the fifth column in there because he doesn't want to have backbiting people who cause havoc and chaos in the cult. But now it's out of his hands because of she, the queen. People are talking. People are confused. And it in that cult at the moment, it's like his, you know, that scripture that says, my worst fears have come upon me. That's what's happened to Dag. So my worst fears might have come upon me, but bitch, I'm dragging you down with me too, Chair, because it's return to sender, and it's an eye for an eye. Do you understand? So the fifth column comprises the disloyal, double-faced, double-tongued, and discontented people within every ministry. Okay. If these are allowed to wreak havoc, as they so very well can, they will destroy the church. This is a direct excerpt from Loyalty and Disloyalty. That is how Dag frames it. Disloyal insiders who, despite being part of the group, undermined its stability and unity. Is he fighting a war? Do you know what I mean? Is he fighting a war? Like, what is my man doing? Like, are you winning souls for Jesus Christ, who is supposed to be the lamb? Or are you trying to do up the German leader? Who was Dag fighting with before? No one. Now he has a fight because he doesn't know who's for him and against him. So he must be going paranoid. That's why he's bugging out on the lives. He's completely bugging out. No matter how much, like, he tried to come on today smiling, laughing, but look at this. He can't hide the EVIR because he's peed off. And when Dag's peed off, he can't hide it because he's just so sinister in his look. Do you know what I mean? Like, anyone can see from that he's EVIR. Do you know what I mean? If I show my niece, she's going to start crying. Like, a child can see that he's EVIR. When my kids come on and they see him on my TV, they start laughing. All right. So let's look at the psychology of the fifth column as applied to groups and cults. So this is what's happening right now in real time inside Dag's cult. You're welcome, Daddy. The term fifth column historically refers to hidden agents who undermine a community from within, originally used in politics and war to describe internal sabotage. So this is how Dag's mind thinks, yeah? And he's trying to apply it to Christianity and love and loyalty. And okay, this is how you see the warped mind, this is where we start to see the psychopathy. In social psychological terms, in-group versus out-group dynamics, leaders who empathize internal loyalty often create a strong in-group identity where questioning is viewed as betrayal. This narrows the definition of acceptable behavior and suppresses dissent, autonomy, choices, whatever. When people begin to question or talk, the leader may label them as disloyal, feeding the very conflict the teaching warns against. Pathologizing dissent, framing disagreement or criticism as disloyalty turns a natural group dynamic discussion, concern, self-advocacy into a moral failing. Psychologically, this can create fear of speaking up and reinforce conformity rather than genuine loyalty. And it creates a breeding ground for gossip. There's little hubs of aunties that are disgruntled. You know what I mean? And they'll all be like slagging off the church cult behind their back. But they think that they're the, like, you know, they're people and whatever. It's just toxic. Self-fulfilling sabotage. When leaders treat normal questioning as a threat, it often breeds the very division they fear. People stop engaging openly, retreat into subgroups or gossip networks, and internal tension grows. Like, there was a girl called Nanaya who lived up the road from me, and her house was just the gossip hub. That girl loved to chat people's business. Her and the other one, Margaret, and the other one, Ben's wife. I can never remember that girl's name. It's Jackie. Yeah. You know, when someone's forgettable, not because of poor conflict handling, cognitive dissonance and group stress. Members under stress who notice contradictions or lack of accountability experience cognitive dissonance, mental discomfort when beliefs and reality conflict. So this is what's happening, because they're just looking MAD, because they're trying to say all these things about me, act like they've got the best year. But they just look insane because it hasn't been the best year. You're trying to act like you don't have the whole world exposing you, like everybody's talking about it, and they're trying to go on like it's not happening. So it's just making them look as bad as they are. If they are locked into an ideology that says question equals betrayal, the tension doesn't resolve, it builds. That internal pressure often surfaces as talking with others, raised concerns, or emotional fatigue. So that's why we come out with a lot of chronic fatigue, emotional fatigue, PTSD, CPTSD. It just ruins us in their chair. So when you come out, I highly suggest you going and seeing your GP, getting blood tests, getting what you can done. If you're in countries where you don't have access to free medical care, connect with nature. All right, and just all of the natural produce that you've got, you could just pick stuff off a tree. Like, make sure you're feeding yourself with good food, and ask God to replenish your mind, body, and soul through the food that you eat. Yeah. Leader body language and stress. I'm going to go after this, guys. When someone is fighting to uphold a narrative under public scrutiny, especially one that avoids addressing allegations directly, it shows physiologically tense posture, fatigue, lack of ease. This is consistent with social psychological stress reactions when threatened by accountability and loss of control. Just quickly before I go, YouTube, unfortunately, I won't have the thing for y'all. Oh yeah, this was a girl from where's the ones of him when he's got his So when I come back, when I'm next on live, we're going to be psychoanalyzing the cult leader's body language. So the body keeps the score. The neuroscience explained. Dag looks like a defeated granddad. We're going to be looking at what happens when someone is under chronic stress, linked to exposure, loss of control, mental health, reputational threat. The autonomic nervous system is activated for long periods of time, and this system governs involuntary responses like his posture, like him looking defeated, downtrodden, worn out, washed up. The facial micro expressions that we can see here, of him looking sad and defeated, the breathing and fatigue. So we're going to look at all of this because this results in observable body language when we look at body language and signs and symptoms. So, Dag, you're not the only one who's out here diagnosing people, love. I'll do the same thing to you. Clenched hands and fists, muscle guarding, hands over the head, rubbing of the scalp, self-soothing under overwhelm, rigid posture or collapse, bags, crow's feet eyes, bags on bags, frowns, hands over the mouth, shoulders forward, showing defeat, showing sadness. No regret though. This is just how sad he feels for himself, not the victims, not because remember he's a narcissist. So it's just what he feels for himself. Visible exhaustion and loss of ease. So we can see here that the neurosystem it's dysregulated. The repetitive movements indicating internal agitation. All right. So when we come back, and also what we're seeing is zooming out disassociation and the brain under pressure. I YouTube, I don't know if I show you this. Can you see Dag? Oh yeah, you can. Look. This is the picture that I'm using to expose him, yeah? Oh, I'm just gonna let it face TikTok. I'm not gonna be able to see your comments because I'm facing it in YouTube. So YouTube, can you see Dag's picture? So this is the one that I'm talking about where, we can see that Dag is visibly zoned out in a dissociative state. And this disassociation is actually a mental health condition. So I've got like a plethora of content showing that Dag is in a dissociative state. So he's here talk about he don't have no mental health, but he does. He does. He's the one with the most mental health everybody, and he can't see it. So this spaced out, vacant, far away look aligns with dissociative responses that occur when the brain is overwhelmed. Disassociation is not mystical, it's not demonic, it's a neurobiological coping mechanism. When someone is under prolonged psychological pressure, especially pressure involving exposure, which some of it may be over exaggerated or not the exact, whatever factual, but he knows that I know a lot more than he thinks that he thought I know. And also a lot of truths are coming out where leaders are having to be discarded because they haven't been completely transparent with that. So this is why we see this defeated man. Do you understand? The nervous system has two main survival options beyond fight or flight, freeze, and dissociative. But here he's gone into freeze mode because there's times where he's just like that for ages. And I'm like, why have they got the camera on him so much? Watch now, they won't have the camera on him so much. They're so sloppy because all they're good people who know, move, Dag wouldn't want to be seen. They're not woke like that. Yeah. So we're going to get into it. So when you know someone's in a dissociative state is when the person stares past the room rather than engage in it, facial expression becomes flat or distant, movement slow or become automatic. There's a sense of mental absence rather than spiritual focus. So there's that absence, like Dag has left the room. It's a coping mechanism. Again, this isn't mockery diagnosis. It's neuroscience when someone is no longer anchored internally because he doesn't know how to anchor himself. He hasn't got a clue. He's never been at the forefront of exposure and criticism and critique. He created a system because he's a little boy where he can't get criticized or critiqued or anything because he is a narcissist. And now that he's getting exposed and he can't control the narrative, there's this narcissistic collapse. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go. But I'm going to say, because my battery is going to unalive on the computer. But I just want to say that when someone is no longer anchored internally, the body and the face shows it. The body and the face keeps the score. And that is what we're seeing in Dag's facial expressions and him just being completely zoned the F out. So the body and face show it. You cannot preach your way out of a dysregulated nervous system. The body keeps the score. And disassociation is one of the clearest signs that the score is catching up. Woo! All right. And then, guys, when I come back, we're going to get into the neuroscience of this properly. YouTube, it's been so lovely. Thank you for being here. Marve, thanks for your comments, my love. I'm going to end the live now, but I may be back tomorrow. If not, I'll be back in a couple of days. Love y'all. TikTok, I'm going to go now because I didn't have